Good morning, welcome back to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We've been coming to you live from the Singapore FinTech Festival. Joining me for this segment, we have Chen. He is the founder and CEO of CapBridge. We're going to focus on pre-IPO opportunities. Thank you so much for joining us live for Nasdaq Trade Talks. Now, describe to us the current trend in global private and pre-IPO opportunities.
Thanks, Jill, for having us. At CapBridge, our focus is really on the pre-IPO and the pre-IPO investment category. I think, and what we have seen is that the pre-IPO space is something that investors really understand. So we typically have companies in the growth stage, whereby they are looking for expansion capital, for money to actually grow and scale up. And these are typically revenue positive companies, and they typically exhibit kind of a step up in valuation. So this pre-IPO space, we see this as a new asset class, and a lot of the investors, especially the family offices and the ultra high net worth individuals, they actually understand this. And what we're doing at CapBridge is to focus in this segment. And as you also know, a lot of companies now are choosing to stay private for much longer now. And if you look at some of the data, it also shows that a lot of the money, actually the private funding money has actually now exceeded the public allocation, and a lot of people are seeing that this is a really nice growth area for investors to put their money in. So what we do is that we actually have companies on board, and we match them with the relevant investors, and we run this thing called the lead and co-investment syndication model, whereby each of the companies has a lead investors, and the lead investor is typically an institutional or professional investor who will price the term sheet, and the co-investors, we bring them in to kind of round out the round, so we can compress the time and actually make this a much more deal share.
Okay, so you mentioned what CapBridge does for the investors. Now, what about the companies? Why raise capital through this approach versus accessing the public capital markets?
So I have been an entrepreneur myself, and as you know, raising capital is always very painful. You have to go for hundreds of meetings, and only a handful of those actually materialize. So one of the things what we have done is that we actually perform KYC and AML on all the investors on our platform, so that we know these are all bona fide investors with funds that's ready to deploy. So we actually increase the efficiency of the success rate of the fundraise. And the other thing we do is that we also help to bring a lead and also strategic investors. So a lot of time companies want to look for smart money to help them scale up, and with the necessary links and network. And what we do is that we also have a list of these investors, and because we're also supported by the Singapore Exchange, which is one of our shareholders, we'll also work with a lot of the listed companies to actually see how they could also work with some of these growth companies. And the whole theme about the co-creation and co-innovation really fits really well. And I think this is one of the strengths.
All right, and to wrap up here, what's next for CapBridge?
So for us, for CapBridge, we spent 2017 to kind of test the business model for our lead and co-invest. We're actually spending 2018 to actually also broaden this up. We see this as a law of numbers game. So the more deals and the more companies we have on board, the more interesting and the greater the probability of matching. And we also are looking at integrating and building a holistic ecosystem. So we started the pre-IPO stage, and then going on to the IPO, and also some of the secondaries. So we're actually hoping to build an integrated and holistic ecosystem, so to speak. And I think that will promote a lot of the capital recycling and the whole capital markets structure here.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us at the FinTech Festival, and thank you for joining me throughout the day. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.